Hey guys, so this is the highly anticipated, I'm sure, will it start video for the new project. I call it an L9000, actually wrong. It is an LN9000, which, as I've researched, LN9000 indicates that it is the shorter hood version. L9000 with just a little bit longer hood. Then there was the setback axle L9000 that I don't know what the designation was, LT or I don't know. Then there was the L9000 Aeromax that had the swept back fenders, fronts, and headlights. And then there was the LTL 9000, of course, that's more like the over-the-road with a longer hood, but shared a cab with these Louisville line. So anyway, that's the truck. You guys saw the pictures in that video I posted a week or two back. And I finally, actually this is after the fact. I'm standing behind the truck right now. I'm literally 4 feet from it. So you can watch this video here. My 9-year-old daughter filmed it, so she's got some commentary, and she changes directions a couple times, so I apologize for that. I'll see if I can edit some of that out, but I don't have much time for editing or patience, so I'll do what I can. But regardless, she got the process, and she got the first move. So I'll let you watch that, and then I'll come back and give you some info on the truck. I don't need to just see me, you know?
I'm not. Those are the old batteries. There's the new ones. Taking a very good video.
What?
I think I'm taking a very good video.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good to hear.
Fire check. There's a check engine there. Boat. It's diesel and it's international. Tires are looking good. Then here's the difference from tires.
Sticky.
Dude. you're driving it home, but you need a new tire.
Okay guys, so here she is in all her glory. This is my new 1987 Ford LN9000. And as you can see by the name on the door and by that awesome boom, this was a house moving truck is what it was built for in its most recent life. And the winch actually works. I tried it out. I'll show you that in another video. I can't get the PTO. I did it earlier at the place I picked it up from. Got the PTO to go the right direction to wind that cable in. I can't get it to engage right now. It only winds out. So anyway, but you know, they would obviously sling that cable over that roller. This is a homemade boom. And then I already pulled off the pulley assembly, but pulley assembly would hook up there and then drop down. You could also just leave that winch cable hooked up there, and if you winch it in, that'll inherently pull that boom up, and you could release the catch chain and then let it drop. But you know, they're just holding that up there with an old pintle hitch. You know, this is all, as you can see, it's just C-channel and I-beam that they built this thing out of. It is beefy. Homemade bed. I mean, the entire bed is homemade. So basically they would use this truck, from what I've read and watched on the old lube tubes, they would use this to unload, and it actually had its own lowboy. It was actually a homemade lowboy, tandem axle lowboy that they had built. But this would haul that lowboy, and it would have beams and cribbing and and whatever on it, dolly wheels, assemblies, and then they would use this truck. They drop the trailer, drop the lowboy back up sideways to it, and unload all that stuff with this, and they could move it around the job site, sling the beams underneath the house and whatnot, and then they would hook the spreader bar to it once the house was all picked up, and the truck would pull the house too, which is pretty cool. Kind of makes me feel bad that I'm going to pull this bed off, but I am. I'm going to try to, I don't know. I have half a mind to try to block this bed up and use it still with like a 110 volt winch that I could run off a generator or something, and, have it around here at the property across the street and be able to lift things. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll just scrap it too, but I hate to scrap it. It's kind of just, I'm a sucker for this stuff that's like a piece of history. So I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, that's the truck. As I think I wrote in some text on the other video, but this is an L10 Cummins, which is not, I wish it was an 855, wish it was a big cam, but for what this truck is, for a little single axle, everything I've read says the L10 is a pretty reliable engine. It's just not that powerful. This is rated at, according to the VIN search I did, haven't found the tag yet on this motor, but according to the VIN search, this was a 240 horse. And we'll see, but I can crank it up a little bit, do some simple playing with the injection pump. And maybe I'll get 300 out of it, which is fine. It actually has good power driving down the road. So, but it's original, it's intact, it runs. Everything's here. Got nice aluminum tanks. I don't know what those are. Gotta be 90 gallons or 100-gallon tanks, twin tanks. It's got a little rust, but nothing that's not repairable. Got that big Louisville cab. Drove all the way home with the seat on the floor, thinking that the air seat didn't work, and I just wasn't operating it properly. The air seat works great, but literally gauges all work. The radio doesn't work. Take that back. So everything doesn't work. There's some of these switches I think used to be fog lights and stuff. Even the light bar on the roof works. Obviously it has the trolley valve there, has trailer air supply. It does have all, has airline connections and light connections to pull that trailer back there. I'll probably just leave all that intact this time. There's the PTO switch for the air engage. Has an air fifth wheel, which I haven't messed with yet, but has ether injection. Haven't tried that. It may or may not work with the can in it. But yeah, it's intact. It's here. It's got fairly tight steering. Worst part, heat works. It's actually an air-conditioned truck. Obviously, it's cold out, so I haven't tried that. I'm sure it needs a recharge at the very least, but literally this is what happens when you jump from, what the old International is up into the latter part of the 20th century, and you get those fancy things like AC. I drove the whole way home thinking that this was a 10-speed. Could not find a shift pattern. And after I got home, told my wife I wanted to take her for a ride, and we got about halfway through that 3 or 4 mile ride, and I did this and said, lo and behold. So I was driving it like a Super 10, and I was starting off down here in low, rolling through the gears thinking I had a Super 10 because I had 5 locations, right? Then every time I try to come back, I would miss a gear or not be able to shift. Well, the whole problem is that I was trying to come back to low. So now that I know that, I'm assuming I have to look up this number, but you guys will probably tell me before I even get a chance to look it up, but I think this would be referred to as an 8 low low. So your low position that you're probably not going to use unless you're, it's deep reduction basically. So essentially you're going to drive 1st through 8th. So it was amazing what happened when I drove it like an 8 low low instead of like a Super 10. We didn't grind gears. So actually very nice driving truck. It's been sitting for I don't know how long. Last plate was in 2002. The 2 original batteries that were still in it on the passenger side box, they weren't scratched off for the date code, but the newest date they could have been was 98s. So they were probably only the second or third set of batteries in this truck. 116,000 original miles. pretty clean rust-wise. There's obviously some rust in the cab just from sitting underneath the tree. A little bit. It was double framed. There's about 8 foot of double frame, something like that, at the back. So I don't know what this truck was originally. Obviously, it wasn't built as a house-moving truck. The fact that it has factory trailer air supply tells me that it was probably a short tractor, is my guess. And obviously, they added the PTO drive, and they added this big beastie winch. And I still don't know. It says Tulsa Winch Company, Tulsa, Oklahoma. I don't know. There's a tag right there. It's pretty unreadable. I'll have to clean it up and see what we can see, but I gotta believe this has got to be like a 20-ton, 30-ton winch. I don't know. Obviously, we're not going to use it for much. The cable's all frayed. I don't even want to know what I'm going to have into it to replace some cable, but my intention is to get this bed off, but leave that winch on, because that's just too handy. And it, like I say, it does work. I've used it. So that's the story on the truck. So to give you some post-video narration from what you saw on my daughter's video there, I showed up, I checked fluids. She was very low on coolant. Obviously, it just evaporated out. It has no leaks on coolant now that it's been running and driving. Power steering fluid and oil looked great. Obviously, I've got all my new filters. I've got, $200 worth of filters for this thing. Coolant filter, oil filter, both fuels, air, you name it. We're going to swap everything and change fluids out. But I checked all the fluids, and I put a set of batteries in it, and then you saw it from there. You saw it as I was tightening down the last couple batteries, but it rolled right over. Did not want to pull fuel on its own, but after the third shot of ether, she ran on her own and pulled fuel. Fuel wasn't in too bad a shape. I did, before I left and drove it down the road, I put some fuel in it, put about 20 gallons on each side out of my transfer tank, and some fuel treatment into it. Some BioClean too, just in case there was anything growing in there. Try not run that through the injection pump, but just give it a little fresh lubrication through that pump. But honestly, it ran great all the way home. The truck puts out heat. Steering's tight, steered great. Worst problem is that these tires are whatever they are. I don't look up the date code, but they're at least probably 20 years old, if not 30. And they got some flat spots in them from sitting for so long. So she's got a little thump to her. But with some new rubber, and it's too bad they're so old, because that steer is damn near brand new. I think this one's got a little less tread on it. Nope, it's a match. So anyway, they'll be great for now until I'm ready to really run it on the road. Good drives too, but same thing. They're weather checked and dry rotted recaps, so they're not usable, not long term. This tire, as you probably saw in the video, was off the bead. It had cracks in the tread where it had been sitting, so it wasn't going to work. So stupid me went and got a reconditioned hub piloted wheel and a used 11R22.5 I had sitting around, and I brought that with me today. Well, I couldn't break the lugs free. I ended up calling my tire company. In the meantime, we had broken the old tire off the rim, and I was going to drive it home on one tire if my tire company hadn't showed up. But my buddy Dan from Pomp's Tire got there and informed me that I'm an idiot, and this isn't a hub pilot wheel. This is a bud, or a stud pilot. And he also informed me that the reason I probably couldn't get those lugs broke free was because they're right-hand thread, because it's the driver's side of the truck. So I guess I know just enough to be dangerous, not enough to get the job done. So anyway, I didn't have him break the lugs after all, like I had him there to do. He had this scrap 11R22.5 on him, and he said, "I tell you what, I'll give you the tire for free. You want me just to mount it up?" So that's what we did. Got us home on 4 drives. But yeah, it pulled out of the hole. We did have a problem. I drove it around the property it was at, shifted through the gears to make sure, it was going to shift and I could do a range shift and all that. But then by the time I let it run for a little longer, the the relay valve on the rear axle was leaking a little bit right when I fired it up. Well, then it was leaking a lot, and it would no longer build air pressure. So my fix, because I didn't feel like trying to go find that relay valve and get it put on, was I pulled the feed line, the 1/2-inch line going to it, from the tank, and I had some air fittings I brought with me from the International, from the Lodestar, and then ran to the hardware store and got a plug, and we just capped the airline feed to the rear. So I still have spring brakes. That's all functional. That circuit's good. I just don't have rear service brakes. So it was a little, extra work on the steers to get her to stop on the way home. We did a little downshifting and took our time and stopped fine. So I'll pick up a relay valve at some point and get that put back on, and then we'll have good rear brakes. But actually, it's only got one other small air leak. That's on the air chuck fitting. That's on this passenger side tank over here. That little guy right there has a slight leak, so we're gonna get that replaced. But otherwise, it's actually a tight air system. So, it's not a perfect truck. We got some work we got to do to it, but all in all, it's there. It's complete. Even that sweet 80s light bar works. I'm gonna turn it on for you just because it's so freaking cool. Get this shut. I do wish the air horns worked, but the valve tries to work, but it doesn't want to, so there's something going on with that. Just a blockage or bad valve, but let's see. We'll give you another start too. Oh, see, there's the heater fan running. She fires right up though. There's our beacon lights. Look at that. Classy. That is freaking classy. Now we're really big rigging here. Yeah. She run good. Got a little thump to her because there's a hole in the exhaust, so it's gonna get straight piped anyway. Don't need to worry about that. But there you go. There's our GVWR 34,500, manufactured May of '87. So, this truck had 24 5s on it from the factory. Look at that. Front axle 12,000 with 11R 24.5 G-rated tires. Rear 22,560. Strange axle rating with 11R 24 5s. Interesting. So somebody swapped it out. Let's see. Incomplete vehicle manufactured by Ford Motor Company. 34.5 GVWR. Oh, there's my paint codes. Wheelbase 158. We can measure out and see if this has been modified. Huh. I don't see any other stickers for a body company, so that tells me it was probably manufactured as a tractor. So it didn't have an upfit. And then this was the homemade upfit, but well, that's a bummer. 24 5s would have been cool. Definitely has 22 5s on it now though. So somebody probably stole them off for another truck. So anyway, well, tomorrow I'll probably film another video for you because it's going to be the power washing, the cleanup video. So keep an eye out for that, but hope you guys like it. I'm in love with this truck already. Pretty fun. Glad I happened upon it on good old Facebook Marketplace.